Okay, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, friends from the different locations. I hope I'm audible and we can start the discussion. We can start today's session. Okay,
You are audible, yes.
yeah. Okay, thank you so much. So, welcome, friends, once again on today's session on effective negotiations. Why I chose this particular topic, I will explain this in the upcoming slide. Before that, let me throw some light on my profile. I am Manoj Ermalkar. I am head of procurement in ACG Engineering, one of the largest manufacturing company of capsules in India. I head procurement of their entire engineering division, and I'm proudly associated with ISM India as their Pune ambassador, as an honorary position, but very respectful and very renowned organization. I have worked in various industries, project, product, process, engineering, and gained a substantial knowledge, extensive experience in supply chain projects. And by qualification, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I have pursued my postgraduate diploma in international business through Symbiosis International University. I'm a proud alumni again with Symbiosis, and during my available time, I make it a point to create some courses and deliver on the platforms like now, with the help of ISM, I'm participating in various supply chain forums. So thanks to them as a appointing me as an ambassador for Pune. Coming to our topic, why I chose this topic typically, because there are two things which fascinated me in the recent past. Honestly, I don't watch TV quite often, barring some news and all business related news and some market related information. But I came across this particular program of Shark Tank, and the way I was really fascinated with the way the people, the entrepreneurs, were convincing their would be, you can say, investors, the judges who are sitting here, to make sure that they're investing in their startups. The the way they were communicating their intent, the way they're communicating their strengths, and they're influencing the seasoned players in the business, that itself is called as effective negotiation, and that really fascinated me. And I thought, we in supply chain, we in procurement, we in purchasing come across day in and day out the situations of negotiations where practically for every deliverable we have to start the negotiation, we have to indulge into the negotiation. So I thought, let me dwell on this particular topic. This topic has been evolving, year after year. Negotiation is not a deliverable or not an expectation which has came very recently. Ever since the since the birth of purchasing function or procurement function or supply chain function, negotiation is a part of our DNA and expectation of management. But it is evolving with so many factors coming into it, so many ingredients coming into it. And today we are in a VUCA world. What is VUCA? That is the word which we typically, I in my current company hear quite often, and which is a fact also, being a supply chain leader in pharma engineering company. So volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. Today, we all are working in this environment. And that's the reason the negotiation plays a very vital role to stay afloat in the business, stay afloat in the function, and also create a good visibility within the management. So that's the reason I chose this particular topic. So this is how we are going to discuss. This is what is going to be the flow of our today's discussion. How we are going to create the efficiencies in the negotiation, how the negotiations will be effective, that we are going to discuss. We are also going to understand some of the strategies of effective negotiation. Then the negotiations across borders or cross-cultural negotiations. The negotiations not only restricted to the domestic partners, domestic supply chain partners, but also the international overseas supply chain partners, which is very crucial. 7 elements of effective negotiation also we are going to discuss. Then the most important buzzword or jargon, or the you can say characteristic of the negotiation, which we hear many in various forums, that is BATNA and WATNA. That is best alternative to negotiated agreement and also worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. We are also going to discuss about WAP, that is walkaway price, ZOPA, ZOPA, which is zone of possible agreement, besides discussing BATNA and WATNA. Similarly, we are going to throw some light on the negotiations, future of negotiations with artificial intelligence. You all must be coming across the term called chatbot, GPT and all, how it is creating revolutions. If you have not came across this, you can see that in coming days, it's going to become a necessity. Artificial intelligence is going to play a very role in every aspect of supply chain, but we will see this, some of it. Let's first understand when the negotiation situation occurs. We will build our discussion from basic to digitization. First of all, the situation arises when there are multiple parties involved, 2 or more. One person cannot negotiate with oneself, right? There has to be at least 2 parties or more than that. Then, when there are the conflicts of interests, okay, if your interest and my interest is same, then we don't have to negotiate. We have to just discuss and say hi, hello to each other and part our ways. There has to be willingness to negotiate. Suppose there is a conflict of interest, but I don't want to negotiate with you. Then it is not negotiation. It is a bargaining, because here I am conveying you the intent of what I want, not that how I want it or why I want it. So then at the same time, there is a necessity to seek the agreement just to achieve the desired outcome, and basically tangible and intangible outcomes, and also through influence and persuasion. When all these factors are there, then only the negotiation can start. Otherwise, it is purely a bargaining, which is a one-way communication and expecting only what and what. We will just understand some aspects of effective negotiation. What is effective negotiation basically? It's a method and process by which the parties settle their differences. A compromise or agreement is also sought. The vulnerabilities, or more or less, I can say, the final outcomes are more or less known to each other, or final expectation. I won't say final outcome. Final expectations are more or less known to each other. And that's a healthy way of understanding, the healthy way of entering into the negotiation. And where some strategies are being planned to start the negotiation, where there is some legitimacy also, that is fairness is also there. So all these aspects constitute an effective negotiation, wherein you are understanding, you have an intent to reach to an outcome with the discussion, with the influence, with the persuasion. You have some strategy in mind. You understand little bit of vulnerabilities of each other, and then you play some and you are legitimate in your discussion. What is most important is to understand the characteristics of a good negotiator. And this is something which is a fundamental aspect of the good negotiator, a fundamental aspect of the negotiation as a process. One good negotiator has to have a good listening ability. He has to be a good listener. And it's not only applicable to negotiation. You go any leadership programs, you go to any program, the first emphasis is on listening. Because when you are listening patiently, when you are allowing the person who is sitting opposite to you to present his case, he will not only feel respected, but at the same time, you will understand the meaning of whatever the person is trying to communicate to you. And at the same time, you can build the case in your mind. So listening is very important, because if you don't listen properly, you are likely to lose the traction of the discussion. Planning ability is very important. A good planner is a good negotiator has to be a good planner, because negotiation is simply not the case wherein, or not the process wherein you are calling the people for the discussion and immediately entering into the negotiation process. Not like that. You have to plan the technical aspects. You have to study the entire I can say case which is under discussion. You also need to understand the aspects of the people, the structure of that organization with whom you are dealing into, the overall product knowledge. Then negotiation as a process, like when it will start, when it will end, how many iterations are going to be there. All this becomes a planning activity, and a good negotiator has to be a good planner. When you are negotiating, then you should not restrict, or good negotiator should not restrict, or does not restrict rather, to a one single option, because it's quite likely that you may not be able to meet that particular option. So he must be able to see multiple options, and that's what is the third characteristic of a good negotiator: ability to see multiple options. We will see what options are called in the next slides. Understanding people. We are dealing with people. We are not dealing with the machines. We must understand the team with whom we are discussing, their personality traits, their leadership traits, their overall you can say structure in that particular organization, the knowledge of those people. All these aspects are must be known to a good negotiator. Researching ability is very, very important. I'm discussing I'm negotiating, for example, a deal which constitutes of various engineering components. And I get an offer from my supply chain partner to, start discussion on the pricing. Unless I study that particular product in detail, its last, 1 or 2 years trends, or the product's number of partners available, or number of you can say options available in the market, the alternate options available in the market, I may not be able to influence the negotiation process. So a good negotiator should have a good researching ability. In the negotiation process, it's important to set the objectives, like what are we meeting for, why this negotiation is required, and what are the desired expected outcomes of this negotiation process. And that is another characteristic of a good negotiator. Thinking ability, which is called as cognitive skills, is also an important aspect of a good negotiator. Persuasive. That means the needs in the negotiation are to be met, and for that, always bringing the negotiation discussions on track if they are going out of track, and making sure that we are meeting the desired intended outcomes. That is the persuasive skill. And last but not the least, emotional intelligence. This is I have seen, in fact I also experienced multiple times, that emotional intelligence plays a very crucial role, because when you are discussing in the team, it's not always necessary that the people or the opposite team member sitting in front of you will meet the team member sitting opposite to you will understand or accept your overall demands. So the egos, the you can say anxieties are likely to happen or take place. So you should be emotionally intelligent to start to conclude the negotiation process. Let's understand some of the terms used in the negotiation. Tactics. Always people get confused with tactics and strategy. Tactics is actually an action to implement the strategy. And positions means it is your initial offer. Whosoever I am negotiating with you, so I will make my first offer. If someone is asking to start the negotiation, he will put his first position. And then the overall approach, which is called a strategy. That is, you can say, the overall game plan also, which plays a very, which is actually a heart or backbone of the negotiation. Because if you don't have any strategy, if you don't have a game plan in your mind, and if you simply attend the discussion or start the discussion with one point agenda that your outcome should be met without having any strategies planned, it's quite likely that you are going to fail in the negotiation. Needs means my must have outcome of the negotiation. Okay, without that the negotiation process cannot be completed. For example, I'm negotiating, say, delivery terms with any supplier. I am negotiating, say, warranty terms with any supplier. Those are my needs. Without that, discussion or that negotiation doesn't suffice. Wants is something which is okay, should have, but if wants are not there, you can still conclude the negotiation. It is, or it is, you can say, complementary to the needs, or it is parallel to the needs, but not the needs per se. Finally, BATNA, best alternative to negotiated agreement. So BATNA, WATNA, we have multiple slides in the session. Friends, don't be under the impression that these are the only terms used in the negotiation, but these are the important terms which I thought I just bring it here. The rest of the parts will be covered in the discussion. So, but these are at the foundation level of the negotiations. Okay, there are 3 golden rules of the negotiation. Sorry, I need to just make this okay. And what are those rules? Always start the negotiation. Do not let the person, or do not let the you can say, okay, maybe opposite party or maybe the other agency to start the negotiation. Because if you start the negotiation, obviously you are going to take a complete charge on it, or you will be always in an influencing position. When I say influencing position, it's not a dictating, it is influencing in a systematic way. For example, I'm sitting in front of a customer, and if I ask my customer, I'm here giving reference of customer, that okay, do you have any budget? How much budget you have? Which itself carries an impression within that customer's mind that look, okay, he has come with some idea in his mind to come close to my expectation. He will overpower that negotiation. So let's start. It's better to start the negotiation by our own. Always make sure that we are keeping all the terms in writing. Verbal doesn't help, regardless of however good relationship you have with the agency, or with even within your team. It's better to have the negotiations in writing. And again, the soft aspect, always stay cool, because negotiation is a process which really tests your endurance, tests your patience. And if you are not able to stay cool, you are actually in a way demonstrating your personality traits, which probably you may not be possessing, but the other person will take in that way, and it will not lead to a logical conclusion. Okay, so let's move on. Some of the phases of negotiation, I'll tell you. The star will keep blinking till I complete all the phases. First is obviously preparation. We need to have a proper preparation before starting any negotiation. the study of that particular product, the study of that particular service, that study of that particular subject. Negotiation can be of anything. And then study of the personality, study of the team members. All these aspects are very important. Then in the negotiation, defining the ground rules and starting the exchange of information, like, okay, this is what is the reason for which we are meeting, and these are the some clarifications, and this is what the product is all about. All those things you need to start in the second stage when you are actually into the negotiation discussion. Clarification is stage 3, wherein you are clarifying certain aspects, be it technical aspects, be it commercial aspects. There are likely to have some difference of opinion. So at that stage, you are clarifying everything, bringing everyone on the same level of understanding, so that on a common slate, from a common ground, you can start the negotiation. Then the actual problem solving and bargaining. Okay, I called it as a bargaining. Don't get confused with the word which I said initially. It's a negotiation. So here actual negotiation starts, and the negotiation of the subject under consideration, all aspects. Finally, the conclusion and implementation. Then the contract preparation, understanding each other's expectation, preparing that contract in writing, or at least signing of the contract, so that at later stage you can prepare and send to the team members. So these are the 5 stages or phases of negotiation. So now, how to create the efficiencies in the negotiations? We say, okay, negotiation is there, some preparation is required, exchange of information. There are some 10, 11 steps I have mentioned here. First of all, follow the first rule of the negotiation. Okay. That first rule states, just a second, I'm not able to see this somehow. Okay. So first rule says, try to understand or try to gather as maximum information as possible of the other party who is part of that negotiation. That will help you in understanding or calculating some of the aspects at the back of your mind, deciding your game plan. Because in absence of any knowledge about either that product, either that overall commodity or that service or the subject under consideration, it's practically becomes difficult to start any negotiation in a systematic way. Ask as maximum possible questions, as possible. Gather the information in the prior to the negotiation, or even in the negotiation, on the negotiation table also. Sometimes you are likely to demonstrate some anxiety, because if you start getting some information, it's quite likely that you might show some anxiety. And please reframe that as an excitement. Don't say that, okay, you are anxious enough to understand so many things. Just make sure that you are excited and try to again come back to the original state of your personality. Important thing is that the negotiation process is not one time negotiation. It's quite likely, or rather in most of the cases, it is a continual process. Today you are negotiating, maybe after some time the process will start. It's important to build the relationship, because without relationship you cannot accrue a desired value. We are not, as I said, we are human beings. You are discussing with humans. Humans are made of emotions. Humans are made of some level of you can say soft personality traits. It's important to maintain the relationship, and the relationship plays a very important role in supply chain. I don't have to tell you all this. Always think positive. Okay, you have a good ability. See, remember one thing: if you are going to be a part of negotiation, the other party needs you as much as you need them. So this aspect, you keep it in your mind, and always think positive. Don't show your negativity, at least if it is accruing within you, don't show it, at least in your body language. Develop a game plan, because as I said, without having any game plan, without having any strategies in mind, the discussion will only go haywire, and you will come up with many surprises in the negotiation. That needs to be avoided. Okay. Then Batna and Watna, think about that. What is the best alternative available? What is the worst alternative available? Try to be articulate. That means try to have multiple options. Try to do not only focus in one particular direction. Keep your mind open and try to be analytical as maximum as possible, because your ultimate goal or ultimate objective is to close the negotiation and not to just have the discussion and again call the that agency for the negotiation. It should be closed in as minimum time as possible, but in a structured way. And for that, you have to have articulative mindset. Listening is very important. Alternate options are to be explored. Suppose if we are discussing one particular aspect, and that aspect or that technical product or the technicality of the product is not suitable, you can think some other option in that meeting itself, so that it will show your intent of coming to a stage of closing the deal, rather than only keeping it open ended. The win-win approach is very much important, because if you start any negotiation with any other approach than win-win, other party is smart enough to understand your intent, and they will play their cards very safely. Sometimes we will not be able to achieve our desired outcomes in the negotiation. Fine, that happens. It's not that we are 100% going to win all the deals, or 100% we are able to influence all these agencies sitting opposite to us. Consider that as setback. Absorb that setback and be prepared for the next time. Don't take it to the heart, and don't carry any negative feeling, because you should be as issue based as possible, so that next time when you approach, you will approach with the learnings from this particular setback, and bounce back very systematically. Let's avoid common mistakes. Many of the times we have seen that the planning is improper. It's absolutely not as up to the mark. And when some questions arise in the discussion or negotiation, people start seeing the faces of each other, and that is really a awkward situation. And the person or the party sitting opposite to you will definitely take advantage of it. Don't be unethical in your behavior, and don't accept any bad deal, or don't accept any deal so quickly. Make sure that each and every aspect that is under discussion is being met, is being discussed. Okay, you may or may not be able to achieve the success in all parameters or all subjects that are under discussion or negotiation, but at least you are touching all the points and satisfying yourself that yes, all topics have been discussed. Give more strength, or at least within your mind, think that you have more power than you have, because unless you think that you have a power, other person will not be able to judge it. And most of the time, I myself have observed that a person has a more power inbuilt inside him, but that power, unless he demonstrates, he will not be able to, or unless he exploits, he will not be able to realize it. Okay, moving on to our strategies of the negotiation, main negotiation strategies. Okay, there are 4 types of strategies: avoidance, competitive, collaborative, and accommodative. Before we start the strategy or throw some light on strategies, let me take you through this matrix. This matter or these couple of matrices, which shows what kind of approach we should have in the negotiation. See, it's me versus you. If you win and I also win, then we both win. Similarly, if you lose and I lose, we both lose. And the rest of the things, I win, you lose, I lose, you win. We need to decide which is best for us. Obviously, I will recommend we both win, because without that, the series of negotiation will not end, or you will not have a negotiation wherein the other party is suppose he is losing and you are gaining. It's quite likely that you are going to fail in the course of execution of that particular project or transaction. There is one model called dual concerns model. In this dual concerns model, there is substantive outcome versus relational outcome. Substantive outcome means what? The technicality under consideration or the subject under consideration versus relation. Suppose for me, substantive outcome is important and relational outcome is also important, then it's a collaboration. Okay. Typically, a win-win and collaboration is the strategy most of the time I have observed. Then relational outcome where it is important, but substantive outcome is not important. That is purely an accommodation strategy. Where do we exhibit that strategy, or where do we implement that strategy? Typically where we have relationship as an important aspect in the supply chain business. Okay. The rest of the factors we will see going ahead. Avoidance strategy is very simple, even though I have written so many things over here, which will be of your use when I send this presentation to you, but it's very simple. Okay. We have some situation wherein I have some expectations. Those expectations are already met, either verbally or in writing, typically in writing. Then you have to simply avoid that negotiation process, because it only takes the time of everyone. And that happens many a times. You discuss with the opposite party, you put forth your expectations, they confirm you, okay, look, out of so many things we accept this, and you conclude that fine, whatever your expectations are, at least majority of them are met. Don't have to start the negotiation process. It only wastes the time, and then it carries an impression that okay, we have a habit of only doing the negotiation for the sake of negotiation. That has to be avoided. But second important negotiation tactics or strategy is a competitive strategy. Here, the competitive strategy means it's a distributive bargaining, it is called. And the approach which is being planned here is I win and you lose. I will win, you will lose. The relationship is very short here, and there is clear-cut conflict of interests. There is one winner, one loser, or vice versa. A simple example I have put in over here. You can relate it to the examples which you probably have experiencing. Here, you want to buy a car, and that car is to be routed through an agent. Agent has some commission in his mind. Okay, you both have a common objective of buying and selling. So on that X, suppose there is a price is X. That person says that okay, at X price that dealer will sell you the car, but you negotiate the price to X minus something. So what happens? The dealer gets a commission which is less than what he has planned. So here he is losing his commission, what is planned in his mind. Typically, we came across this negotiation when we deal with the channel partners or dealers of the OEMs, wherein they have fixed margins on one particular price, and they always feel that fine, they should not negotiate much. The customer should not negotiate much, or at least my margin should be secure. The relationship in most of the cases is very short term, and that is what is called as competitive strategy. Now, coming back, the collaborative strategy, which typically we as a supply chain leaders recommend, or we experience, or we implement also, which is win-win. I win, you win. It's positive sum situation, and it has integrative bargaining, wherein even though win-win approach is there, the importance is there for the relationship. There is people are separated from the problem, and the focus is on interests, and also options are invented for the mutual gains, and objective criteria is insisted. So that's a collaborative strategy. Okay, some comparison of the characteristics between distributive and integrative. I thought let me show here the available resources in the competitive strategy or the distributive bargaining. There are fixed amount of resources, whereas in integrative characteristics there are variable amount of resources. Primary motivation is obviously I win, you lose. In distributive, in integrative it is win-win. Interests are opposed to each other in distributive, whereas the interest here in integrative negotiations are, or in strategy, are congruent to each other. The relationship is short term here, whereas the relationship is long term in integrative. And now this accommodative strategy, I lose, you win. It happens when you have strategic suppliers with you. I'm directly giving an example here. You know that that particular supplier is very important for you on a long-term basis. Number one, he is supplying you critical products. Sort of monopoly is enjoying, sort of, not 100%, but yes, there is some transfer cost involved if I want to switch from this supplier to another. So what you initially think, first let me build the relationship, and then over a period of time, derive the value out of that relationship going ahead. But initially, if suppose the substantive outcome is not achieved in the negotiation, you allow that to happen. Your management also says that let it happen, and build the relationship. What happens is slowly and gradually, once you start creating a belongingness with that supplier, obviously you will try to get the maximum value from that relationship aspect. And not only relationship, you can understand the product, you will be able to better influence that partner going ahead. And that way, the accommodative strategy is implemented whenever such type of strategic relationships are important. Let me throw some light on seven elements of effective negotiation. Okay, not able to see this again and again. Okay, first, as I said, relationship, focusing on relationship, but at the same time, separating people from the actual work. Second is communication. Speak for yourself, not for others. And you have to have a good listening ability. Communication has to be very clear. What people exactly want, those interests are also important. Multiple options have to be exhibited, or multiple options have to be discussed in the negotiation. Alternatives are also discussed. Most important thing is that fairness is very important in the negotiation, because today the world is so transparent. You cannot hide any information. You cannot play hide and seek in the negotiation. If suppose you are divulging some data about anything, be it your sales, be it your sales prices of the to the customer, or your overall profitability of the organization, and taking shelter of that and negotiating with the supplier, sooner or later these aspects become clear to the opposite party. They will think that, oh, they were not fair in the negotiation. So next time when we are approaching them, approach them with the different strategy, which will not suit the fairness of the negotiation. Finally, commitment. I have typically observed that when we are negotiating, suppose you are negotiating on say 10 terms, and if suppose out of those 10 terms, 3 or 4 are very, very important for you, those are your needs, and the rest are your wants. Okay, without that you can still conclude the negotiation. In the excitement, in the anxious state, we get the commitment from the supplier or the supply chain partner, I would say. What happens when you initially 3 or 4 deliverables are made, and when you get the commitment from the supply chain partner, it's quite likely that for rest of the deliverables, he will try to recover some of the benefits which he has passed on to us. So it's better that you get the recommendation commitment only when your last point or last aspect is discussed. On the overall contract, you can get the commitment, and that is very important. Finally, what is a good outcome that meets the needs of everyone? At the same time, it is doable, and most importantly, it is better than your partner.
Huh?
Hello.
Bridge utra khali ja, saral ja pure.
Yeah, I think someone's mic is on, so I request him to please mute. Okay, I think we will now discuss about the cross-cultural communication, cross-cultural negotiation. Friends, we come across the such type of situations every now and then. It's a bit complex. This cross-cultural negotiation is a bit complex compared to the normal negotiation, because here the people come from different cultures. They differ in not only in cultures, but they also differ in approach, like whether they have an approach of win-win, win-lose. How they come to agreement, how to communicate the disagreement, and also what are the protocols and rituals of the negotiation. So here, my only point, or rather some of the important points which I would like to mention here: try to study the culture of the people. Okay, cross-cultural team who is visiting you or who is actually having discussion with you for the negotiation. Try to study their culture. It's not that you cannot you can study each and everything, but at least you will understand. I have mentioned some of the examples here, like Americans. Their emphasis is on fact and figures. They don't believe in relationship building and all that stuff. Whereas Arabs focus morely on emotions. Russians also talk about some ideals. Most data oriented, task oriented, clear are Germans. There, the logical conclusion is very important in place of Germans. Chinese again focus on relationships, and UK people typically focus on distributive techniques like I win, you lose. That means they win, I lose, sort of. With my experience, and also I studied the aspects in our various supply chain forums, and I came across this particular fact that yes, these are the characteristics of some of the negotiation from cross-cultural. Friends, as far as steps are concerned in the cross-cultural negotiation, they are more or less the same, like we have in the domestic negotiation. But preparation stage is very important, because at preparation stage, you are studying the culture of the team who is visiting you, culture of the country risk, the market in which that particular supply chain partner is functioning, the number of you can say forces available, number of alternatives available in that particular market. This is important. Then you start building the relationship in the negotiation process. That is your second step. You may or may not be successful. As I said, Americans don't believe in it, but yes, try to show that as your intent, so that the negotiation discussions are always smooth. Exchange the information in the as a third step, which is your first offer also. Then you start pursuing the outcome. Some concessions probably you may have to give, or probably the other party will give. You have to accept or decide, or depending on the situation. And finally, you have to come to an agreement. So you can see that more or less the process is same, but the preparation stage is very important, wherein a lot of studies are required. Important hint here. I won't say you study the entire language of that particular culture, but understand some of the words. or rather refrain yourself from using some complex words. I have given one example here. If suppose you are dealing with Americans and you learn a habit of this particular idiom that I'm pulling your leg sort of. And if you use the same idiom in case of Germans, they will feel that, oh, he's saying that I'm sitting on your arm, and that will go in a negative direction. Try to use as simple as clear words as possible, and as far as possible, try to have the interpreter at your side. Interpreter plays a very important role, and most of the time I have seen that with the help of interpreter, the negotiations have led to a success. Some basics, please understand. Language and culture, the VoRP analysis says that a person who is speaking one particular language, more or less or typically, he sees the world from that background itself. Suppose I'm an Indian, typically I'm an Maharashtrian. I speak one particular language, which is Marathi. I will see that, okay, the world is full of good people, emotional and all that stuff. It doesn't mean that the world is bad, but at least I will see the communication like world like that. Similarly, the others have their own, you can say, patterns in their mind. So try to understand that and be close to their culture. Because if I am, suppose, habit of, always playing with some jargons, I am playing, having an habit of playing with some jokes. I cannot keep that approach same to all the cultures. I have to adjust my tuning or personality to which is suitable to that culture. Some of the low context and high context examples I have mentioned here. What does that mean? Low context means here your body language, your tone of voice doesn't make any difference. Facts and figures. Some of the languages like European languages like German, Scandinavian are having this type of low context, whereas in high context, the body language is very important. We are going to discuss this also in the upcoming slide. Humor, jokes are important, fine. But when you are sitting in a cross-cultural team, the jokes are the jokes which are suitable to the situation. If you can throw that type of jokes, it's okay. Otherwise, continuously having that humor doesn't also serve the purpose, and it creates a negative image about you as a negotiator. Openness, one has to be very free. When you are negotiating with a cross-cultural team, doesn't mean that you have a low value. Be fair, be open, and ask whatever clarification you need. Moving on, let's understand what is BATNA, WATNA, WAP, ZOPA to negotiate the effectively. Friends, BATNA is nothing but an alternative. In a simple words, it's an alternative to a negotiated agreement. Okay, you are negotiating one particular deal. That deal has some X. I will say that we are negotiating a price. That price is X, and you have one alternative which is X minus something. So it is best alternative to your negotiated agreement. So use that BATNA. Use that BATNA to negotiate with that party. And if your BATNA is better, if your negotiated agreement is better than BATNA, you accept the negotiated agreement. But if your BATNA is better than the negotiated agreement, leave that negotiation, or at least you tell the other party that fine, try and come close to my expectations. Understand one thing, that the BATNA really increases your negotiating power. I can influence my the people sitting in front of me if I have better BATNA available with me. Otherwise, I will always have a fear in my mind. Oh, what will happen if this deal doesn't succeed? So the bright face I can get when I have strong BATNA with me. If you don't have BATNA, then probably it's better that you don't discuss it with the team, and just at least make sure that the it is not demonstrated, or it is not at least visible from your actions. Some of the one example I have shown here. But instead of going into this entire example, I'll just show some summary. Okay, we have one ex supplier who is offering some price, as I mentioned, and with that price, you see that no, that supplier is offering the same price, lower price to the others. You search in the market, you tap some of the source, you negotiate with him, but your import, you have an inclination for the original supplier, so you use that you know BATNA for the negotiation with the original supplier. If the original supplier comes really close to your BATNA, and if you feel that it is better to accept that, even though it is close to the BATNA and not 100% equal to BATNA, depending on the situation, because there are some transfer costs involved also. If suppose you want to switch from one supplier to other, it's quite likely that you may have some hidden costs. You may have to incur certain hidden costs. Some shortages will be there. Some delays will be there. Some the issues will be there in your manufacturing. Chaos will be there. So even though you are achieving in long term, short term there will be some issues. So what you can think, or what you can analyze, that okay, my BATNA, the other party is coming close to my BATNA, it's better to accept it. So this is how the BATNA helps you. Now there is another term called VATNA. It's worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. There are many worst thing happens, in the if suppose the negotiation doesn't go as planned. So what is that worst thing that is likely to happen? I have given one example of AC servicing over here. I have just tried to give as simple examples as possible. I could have added the complex situations here, but obviously I will do it when we have a masterclass on negotiations, not in this 1 hour webinar. So you have some AC service provider. He comes, he says that okay, I'll charge some 2,500 rupees to you. You feel that okay, the price is slightly more. What you will do? Either you will search an alternative, which is at par, but it's not ideal. But what is your VATNA? If suppose you don't have an alternative, and if you don't have to deal with that supplier, and you just don't want to accept that particular proposal, worst thing will happen that your entire team will be facing the scorching heat. So this is the worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. In this case, what you will do? Okay, my worst alternative is very bad. So better I accept this and then start looking for the BATNA in the future. There is something called WAP, walk away price. Okay. Many times it happens that, okay, you don't have BATNA, you have some VATNA in your mind, but you feel that it's better. There is a possibility to walking away from the negotiation. So you do that. And you can say you experience that, or rather you implement that particular thing of walking away from the negotiation. Fine, it is important, because if you are not in a hurry, and if you feel that you can buy some time, search for some BATNA, or search for something else, or you can even delay the process, you can do that. Even when you are discussing in the forum about this negotiation, do not break the silence, because as I mentioned, negotiation really tests the patience and endurance. So just make sure that you are showing an action of walking away from that deal, and you can walk away, but don't linger at that negotiating table, because then otherwise the party will get the feeling that no, he's just doing this for the sake of doing, and that will never achieve your desired success. So walk away price is something which you will decide when you have time available with you, when your negotiated agreement is not in line with your expectation. You need some time to get the BATNA, and walking away does not lead to a worst situation. In that case only you can achieve the you can demonstrate this WAP. There is something called ZOPA, zone of possible agreement. Okay, here zone of possible agreement is basically a potential agreement which benefits both sides. Example I have shown here. company wants to buy a car and they start with an offer of say 5.5 lakh, but that seller can go up to 8 lakh. Seller says that, okay, sorry, company wants to buy a car at 5.5 lakh is their price, but they can reach up to 8 lakh, whereas the seller has selling price of 9 lakh, but he can go up to 7 lakh. So the zone of possible agreement reach is between 7 lakh and 8 lakh. If there is no ZOPA, then there is no negotiation. It's only negative bargaining. Not necessary that all potential deals will have ZOPA. Not necessary. But it's always better to have ZOPA in place to conclude the negotiation. Because when it is not there, then the negative bargaining starts. It's bargaining only starts. One important question here. If the other party has a better BATA than you, fine, that may happen. But if it doesn't, it's your luck. But if it happens, you know, you have to again keep on discussing and try to reach to an agreement. But what is important is that your BATNA is very strong than the other party's BATNA. Friends, one important rule in the negotiation is called 73855 rule. What is that 73855 rule? It says it is actually related to the communication of emotions. It states that typically in the negotiation process, 7% of the message or meaning is through spoken words, 38% through a tone of my voice, and 55% from my body language. So the major emphasis is on our body language. How to use this rule, or rather before that, as a good negotiator, you must be able to apply this rule very systematically. Understand the other party, because it is applicable to you. It is also to be seen from the other party's overall body language, overall tone of voice, and overall spoken words. How it has to be used? Just observe your counterpart's body language. If suppose you feel that, okay, the discussions are going haywire because of whatever your tone of voice, because of maybe your hard tone of hard words, try to speak smoothly, try to, and then bring back the negotiations to the original pace. Slow your, the pace of the negotiation. At the same time, look for the inconsistencies between the spoken words and the body language or the non-verbal behavior of the opposite party which is sitting to you. Because when something is unusual is happening, obviously we are humans, it's bound to reflect from your body language. So unless you are a very good actor. But in the negotiation process, when you are sitting with 10, 15 people, it's quite likely that your acting skills will not be very prominent. See that the words what the other team members are saying, do they really match to their non-verbal behaviors? Are there any inconsistencies? Are there any, read between line the things? Then just monitor the speaking pattern of your counterparts. Try to catch the lies in between. When I say lie is not for the sake of saying lie. It happens, you give some incorrect information just to influence the situation. Sometimes people say that, oh, there are huge rise in the labor rates in our country or in our, you can say, industry. You can capture that from the non-verbal behavior. Now, also try to use the different vocal tones. Do not use the assertive voice. Try to be as collaborative as possible, so that as accommodative as possible, so that it gives you a collaboration in the negotiation. While all this is applicable to the other parties, like to see the behavior of the people who are part of negotiation, it is applicable to you also, that you are not demonstrating your discomfort or if at all you are giving any information which is just to influence the situation, it is not demonstrating or exhibited from your body language, that is important. So remember one thing, when we are sitting in any negotiation, typically I have seen this in the cross-cultural negotiation, this 738-55 rule plays a very prominent role. Friends, I have discussed some of the strategic levers, because when we are discussing the negotiations over here, the negotiations cannot be complete without understanding what are the strategic levers to achieve the reduction in the business. Okay, because we are actually considered to be the value creators. One is obviously the first lever which is available to the supply chain is or procurement is renegotiations. This is a continuous process. You cannot say that today you have negotiated something, that means for another 5 years you will not negotiate. Decide some frequency, renegotiate certain terms, if at all not price, and keep the process evolving. Do a volume bundling wherever it is possible, because at times what happens, suppose you are into a product industry, or for that matter into project industry, you are likely to get some collective requirement of multiple projects or multiple products together. Try to bundle the volumes and negotiate with the as a package price with the supply chain partners. That will really give you a lot of benefits. Optimize the specifications. I have practically experienced this. Once you optimize the specifications, once you remove the high factor of safety, or the high rigidity in the design, that is purely okay. Designers are not at fault here, because they are concerned about the quality of the product, and it's equally our responsibility also. But some aspects are not important, so try to curtail those specifications, so that you can open more channels of supplying that particular product to you, and you can create a competition amongst various supply chain partners. You can redefine your supply chain. Okay, you have your current supply chain, which is very having say 1 or 2 suppliers or 1 or 2 partners. You can decide to have a geographical supply chain as a part of understanding the price level at various regions. Your focus should also be on outsourcing as well as insourcing. There are some critical components probably you have outsourced for no reason, or maybe for the legacy which is being carried forward. Try to get in those products inside, and then outsource some of the non-critical products, so that you can achieve the balance. At the same time, get a lot of benefit out of that. Within the suppliers, try to create a competition, and it is possible only when you have multiple suppliers with you. E-auctions, that is reverse auctions, it's very important. And category management. Reverse auction typically is applicable for the volume-based business, wherein you can involve many suppliers and you can achieve a good reduction out of that, and use technology. Okay, I think I have just exceeded the time, but let me just throw some light on some of the aspects. Like, there are certain steps of changing negotiation practices in the organization. First is understand the strengths, weakness of your own function, and then provide required training as a leader. Or maybe you can train yourself if you are not a leadership position. Acquire more skills, keep on working yourself, manage the negotiating team typically systematically. Outcomes have to be at the back of your mind, that this ultimate aim is to get the outcomes. Where are inconsistencies are there in the past in the negotiation process, try to point out those inconsistencies and work on that. Understand the best practices. Like today I am in an engineering company, I try to implement the best practices of the automotive companies, and in return I give my best practices also to them as far as negotiation is concerned, and build a coalition among the partners. Friends, artificial intelligence is playing a very vital role. As I mentioned, the days are not far when AI will negotiate the commercial deals on our behalf. It has already started. Okay, but what kind of deals? Or rather, I would say that just imagine a scenario wherein the products are being negotiated by the machines. It's being conducted by AI and chatbot. The question always comes, Will the chatbot negotiate without common sense and emotions in it? Its answer is NLP. This natural language processing is a big revolution which is happening, and it's the next big thing. And within very short span of time, we will start interacting with the machines. Okay, I can't say the time frame, but lot of work is going on, and it's a matter of time that we will have negotiations using AI as a tool. What kind of contracts, what kind of deals we can negotiate using AI, in which is under discussion, or rather it is experimented also at some of the cases. The deals with low value and high volume, it will capture the data from the systems and it will start negotiating with the suppliers. Also the deals which are having complex data, because then AI can take out the complex data from various sources which are available and then start negotiating. And the spot pricing deals, like, okay, stainless steel we buy as a spot buying a commodity. So in those cases, the AI is going to play a very vital role. Now, how to implement or how to prepare your organization ready for AI, AI or negotiations with the help of AI? First of all, make sure that, or rather start a process, consider that you are a startup in your function. Your function is a startup. So keep innovating your thoughts. If you are at a very, very senior level in the organization, try to appoint a leader under you who is a visionary and who has a thinking ability to read the future and execute this innovation. Then the data is very important. In my last webinar also I have mentioned that the world's most valuable resource is no oil, data. I can proudly say that in my company in ACG, my predecessors, my existing bosses have worked so hard to purify the data, to keep the data so handy for me that it has become very easy for us to implement SAP, implement analytics, implement this digital twins, do the digitization of our supply chain. Why? Because the data was very pure. And finally, the neglected values in the business are to be identified, unmanned suppliers are identified, and then you yourself can think like sorry, like today when I use reverse auction as a tool, I know I can use it for the commodities like walls, pumps, like, which is having major volume and which can get me benefits, and which will have multiple suppliers like this. Similarly, think of such commodities and then on as a prototype, as a demo, start doing the negotiations using AI tools. So friends, that's all about today. I really could not realize how the time has passed of 1 hour. At times I feel that, the time is always very short when we touch upon certain critical topics. But thank you so very much for being so patient and so attentive in the negotiation. And over to you, Ria. It's me, it's Manoj Jarmalkar. These are my